This is True Crime Today. Here now, Tony Bruschi.
Slender Man, Morgan Geyser, one of the teenage perpetrators of the infamous 2014 Slender Man stabbing, and now been granted release from the Winnebago Mental Health Institute after nearly 7 years of confinement. The decision made by Judge Michael Bourne comes despite the horrific nature of her crime and the enduring trauma of her victim, Payton Leutner. Let's take a look at what happened in court.
Now, while it is this examiner's opinion to a reasonable degree of professional certainty that facts weigh in favor of Ms. Geyser's petition in place of an unconditional release at this juncture, I also recognize considerations which may give pause. The issue of Ms. Geyser's diagnosis enigma is one such consideration. Ms. Geyser now reports that she's never experienced auditory hallucinations or psychotic symptoms otherwise. The etiology of her historic psychotic symptoms remains unclear, especially in light of the fact that she has not been prescribed antipsychotic medication in recent years and has nevertheless not evidently demonstrated a reoccurrence of psychotic symptoms. She warrants ongoing close clinical monitoring and treatment in part to support her transition to the community through, as importantly, to effectively and efficiently determine and respond in the event of any reoccurrence of symptoms of a major mental illness. I read that paragraph in full because that's an important consideration, and it caused the court pause with regard to how to evaluate circumstances. However, when I read the entire report by Dr. Collins and Dr. Lundell, as well as what they testified to, I'm satisfied that those are caveats for the court to be concerned with and to evaluate in a way with regard to the issue of dangerousness. It's not necessarily a veto over the release on a supervised release petition. That the court's going to grant the release. I'm satisfied that by clear and convincing evidence that under the current set of circumstances, Ms. Geyser does not pose a significant risk of bodily harm to herself or others, or of serious property damage.
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong? For those unfamiliar, Geyser and her accomplice, Anissa Weier, lured their friend Payton into the woods under the guise of a fun outing. The girls had been obsessively reading online stories about Slender Man, a fictional supernatural entity said to stalk and abduct children, convinced that committing murder would prove their loyalty to this mythical figure and grant them safe passage to his supposed mansion. They devised a plan to kill Payton. On May 31st of 2014, the three girls ventured into a park in Waukesha, Wisconsin, where Geyser and Weier enacted their twisted scheme. After playing for a while, they coaxed Payton deeper into the woods. There, in a chilling act of premeditated violence, Geyser pinned Payton down and stabbed her 19 times with a kitchen knife. The attack targeted critical areas, including her arms, legs, and torso, with one wound nearly missing her heart. Believing their victim was either dead or close to dying, the two attackers fled the scene, leaving Payton alone in the dirt. Despite her life-threatening injuries, Payton found the strength to crawl to a nearby path, where she was discovered by a passing bicyclist who immediately called for help. Her survival was nothing short of miraculous. Geyser and Weier they were apprehended at that time, later that day, walking along a highway. When questioned by police, they showed little remorse. Their focus instead on the bizarre belief that Slender Man was real and would harm their families if they didn't carry out the attack. During the trial, Geyser's attorney cited her diagnosis of early-onset schizophrenia as a major factor in her delusions. However, mental illness does not erase the sheer brutality of her actions or the calculated nature of the attack. Now, Geyser's release has sparked outrage and concern in Wisconsin, while her lawyers and 3 psychologists claim she has made significant progress. In managing her schizophrenia, this decision raises serious questions about justice and public safety. Let's not sugarcoat it. Morgan Geyser didn't just make a bad decision as a kid, she meticulously planned an attack to take a life, all to satisfy the delusions of a monster she read about online. Some people are just broken. The release plan involves Geyser transitioning to a group home for 60 days, where she'll be monitored by the Wisconsin Department of Health and Services. Let's be real here. Does a group home and some supervision truly compensate for the magnitude of her crime? Payton Leutner will carry the physical and emotional scars of that attack for the rest of her life. Well, Geyser now gets a chance to reintegrate into society. Geyser's co-defendant, Anissa Weier, was released under similar conditions in 2021. The parallels between their cases have reignited debates about the balance between mental health, rehabilitation, and accountability. Both girls were diagnosed with severe mental illnesses, and while that's a factor to consider, it should never overshadow the brutality of their actions. The legal journey leading to Geyser's release has been long and controversial. This isn't the first time she's petitioned for freedom. Earlier requests were denied, including one as recently as April of 2024. So what changed? According to expert, Geyser no longer poses a danger to herself or others. I've heard that one before, and then suddenly there's a danger to themselves and others when they're released, but who am I? But are we willing to gamble public safety on their clinical assessments? Let's not forget about Payton. While Geyser's life moves forward, Payton's has forever been altered. She's chosen to live a private life away from the media spotlight, but that doesn't mean her pain has disappeared. Imagine being reminded daily of the betrayal and the trauma, and now knowing your attacker is free to walk with us, amongst us. The public reaction to Geyser's release has been mixed, to say the least. Some argue that her mental illness absolves her of full accountability and praise her progress. Others, however, see this as a gross miscarriage of justice, an insult to Payton and her family. So how do you reconcile the desire for rehabilitation with the need for justice? What if there is no such thing as rehabilitation for some people? We have a hard time accepting that in our society. Can both coexist without compromising safety? The most unsettling part of the story is the lingering uncertainty. What measures are in place to ensure Geyser's reintegration doesn't pose a risk to others? How can we trust a system that's already allowed one perpetrator back into society? And more importantly, what does this say to other victims of violent crime? For now, Geyser remains under state supervision until she's 53. That's a cold comfort for those who believe her release is a dangerous misstep. In cases like these, the line between justice and rehabilitation blurs, leaving us to wonder, has the system truly served its purpose, or has it failed Payton Leutner once again?